We were on a road trip from Los Angeles to San Francisco and had a long drive ahead of us to Santa Barbara. The coastal views from the Pacific Highway were beautiful. As the sun began to set, we arrived at our destination, and I couldn't imagine a more lovely bed and breakfast than the Simpson House Inn. However, I was not prepared for what would be the creepiest night of my life. I was booked in the McCormick room, which was richly decorated in burgundy, gold, blues, and green tones. I immediately recognized the Bradbury wallpaper. The bed was draped with crochet and lace linen. Like most Victorian homes in that era, the rooms were not en suite. My bathroom was located in the hall and had period features like a pull chain, wooden toilet, and stained glass window. We relaxed on the veranda and soaked in the expansive green lawns with carefully manicured landscaping. Gail, the innkeeper, served wine and hors d'oeuvres and explained the history of the house. We turned in for the night around 10 p.m., but I had trouble sleeping. I woke intermittently throughout the night and wondered about the time. It felt as if hours had passed. Exhausted and in a drowsy state of consciousness, I saw a very thin woman walk into my room. She looked so petite and frail. Her presence felt threatening, and as she sat on the bed beside me, she barely made a dent on the mattress. I was overcome with fear and panic. "Who are you? Why are you here? What do you want?" I was completely aware, but my body was frozen. As I laid on my back with arms at my sides and unable to defend myself, I waited for something dreadful to happen. In the most gentle and caring way, she pulled the crocheted throw blanket up and around my shoulders and carefully tucked the linens around me. Her touch was so light. Within moments, peace swelled over me and the fear faded. I began to realize that she came to comfort me and make me feel at home. Then, I slipped into a state of unconsciousness. That morning when I awoke, my body was in the same position as when the woman visited. A chill ran through my body, but I felt refreshed and completely rested as if I had a full night of sleep. At breakfast, I described the experience to my friends and the innkeeper. My friends didn't believe me and thought I had a dream until Gail responded, "Oh, that was Emily." "Who?" My friends grew silent. "Emily. She used to live here." It was so eerie that an unwelcome ghost came to welcome me.
In 2019, I was living by myself in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I was 22 at the time, and being alone in a foreign city as a young woman was scary by itself. However, the things I experienced during my time, they were truly unexpected. I was working full-time and living in a hotel in the city center. The room had a small kitchen and felt more like a small apartment than a hotel room. Most of the other guests there only stayed for a few nights, and as far as I could tell, I was the only long-term guest. Everything was going smoothly for a few weeks, until I began to notice some odd things. When I came back from work in the early evening, some things about my room would be different. Clothes I had left on the chair would suddenly be on the bed, or my shampoo bottle would no longer be in the shower, but mysteriously moved to the kitchen counter. At first, I attributed it to housekeeping. However, I always placed the Do Not Disturb sign on my door when I left, and only had them clean about once per week. Then one day, I noticed something even stranger. The large painting that had always been hung above my bed had suddenly disappeared. In its place was just an empty wall. The hotel was quite new, so there was no reason to replace the painting. It was in perfect condition. 2 days later, the painting had returned. It was the exact same as before. Unfortunately, I never got an explanation for what had happened. When I called the front desk to ask about the painting, they had no idea what I was talking about.
A few years ago, I was on a study abroad term, which was held in a 15th century medieval castle, Herstmonceux Castle, located in the south of England. Early on in our orientation, we got to learn all about the long history of the castle and grounds, including a few creepy details about beings you might encounter wandering about. The Headless drummer, a former military man with a drum, was one of them. One night, a buddy and I were walking through a dark corridor of the castle from the library to the pub to meet our friends. Funny enough, the castle pub was named the Headless Drummer. As we walked the long, dimly lit corridor, we both froze at the same time. We thought we could hear something. Drumming, snare drumming, faintly tapping, but definitely, unmistakably drumming sounds. We looked at one another with wide eyes, half smiling in disbelief, because there was absolutely no way we were both actually experiencing this at the same time. Half panicked, because we were both hearing what we were thinking we were hearing. I said to my friend, "Tell me you're hearing that too." My buddy looked right back at me and said without a pause, "I swear I'm hearing that too." Our amused disbelief turned to sheer panic, and we sprinted out of that corridor. A few twists and turns later, we saw the lights of the pub and stumbled inside, half panting and half in shock. When we saw our friends sitting at a table, they said, "Whoa, you look like you've seen a ghost." To which we replied, "No, but we heard the drummer." We needed a few pints to calm our nerves that night and walked home with the large group just in case.
I hope you found these stories as chilling and unsettling as I did. It's a stark reminder that sometimes reality can be stranger and more frightening than fiction. If you enjoyed these tales of suspense, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more spine-chilling content. This is your host, Nicholas Black. Until next time.